Looks pretty good. All right, let's get started here. How's it going? Good to see you, Austin. Glad you can make it. Tonight we're making some curry and scallops, so that'll be fun. All right, let's start with, okay, we got onions there, garlic and ginger. Great. Probably shouldn't have done that, but that's okay. Good, good. You have a good week so far? But you haven't had scallops before? Scallops? They're like little fish hockey pucks. Look-wise, not taste. Taste, they are really good. Can't complain. Yesterday I was able to take a break from schoolwork to light the fire pit up and make a really nice soup. So it was nice. Yeah, fish hockey puck. I mean, that's what it looks like if you just Google image it. I don't know a better way to describe it, like visually, if I'm being honest. Alright, so first thing we're gonna do is just grate up some of the starting ingredients. Depending on what kind of curry you want to make, you'll either want the ingredients chopped finely or coarsely. If you want them more coarse in cubes, you're going for more rustic looking curry. If you want something that has flavors that will blend better together in terms of taste, you either want to put the ingredients in a food processor, or you would want to grate them. I don't have a food processor today, so I'm just gonna use a grater for the onion to start. Yeah, it was nice to relax a little bit. I don't know, campfires are always relaxing, and it smells nice. It's always good, especially when you share with somebody. Let's try this. The only problem with using a grater for onions is that if you ever cry when you cut onions, you will definitely cry when you grate them. There's just no way around it. So if it looks like I'm crying, if you ever see my face on stream, that's probably why. Yeah, what do you make over campfires? Only thing I do is just marshmallows, hot dogs. Hey, how's it going? Vol, so glad to see you here, buddy. What you been up to? All right. That's good for the first one. I think I'm already crying, so that's good. Minecraft, nice. Minecraft always looks fun to play. I've never played it before, but I know all about it, if that makes sense at all. I usually watch games more than I play them these days, honestly. And that's mainly because I feel like I'm only really good at like 2 or 3 games, so I don't bother otherwise. Oh yeah, the tinfoil trick. That's classic. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, you can always get like a little grill plate over the fire. Just like grill up some stuff too. That'd be nice. Although the fire isn't always going to cook evenly for you. So there's that. Yeah, dude, it's such a watchable game. It's like, I know Roblox is the thing, but like, if there was any game that personified Legos more, like the idea of original Legos, it's probably Minecraft. Austin, what are you up to tonight? Anything fun? Oh yeah, no, you're playing that new Metroid game, right? The one that came, the Dread one, was it called? That looks nice. The Dread game does. Yeah, so the onion basically right now just looks like applesauce, and that's intentional. I really want to get this curry to be more like a sauce that I add things to. Right now it's going to basically play the part of the main flavor profile for the dish, which is also going to include scallops and some chickpeas that I will pan fry with some herbs and spices. And what is special about this curry, or I guess not so special, but like what's different about it from a traditional curry is that in place of one of the onions, I'll grate in an apple, so I get to call it apple curry. But what's nice about it it rounds out the flavor profile of it, so it's not just spicy, it's also a little bit of sweetness from the apple. And this is great especially for people who are newer to curry, who don't necessarily think they can handle all the spice. It's just a nice way to mellow it out, and it's just a pleasing flavor. And I've been doing that since I started making curry, and I like it a lot. I know that some people will also try to substitute out the fruit of apple with mango or something, and that seems to be good too. So whatever fruit you're comfortable with. I've even heard of people doing banana, which sounds kind of crazy to me, but I'm always on to try something. All right, turn down the heat a little bit. Yeah, spicy and sweet. So I grated the onion the wrong way when I just did it now. I accidentally cut the onion in half first, but you should probably just use the whole onion. I just had to peel it first, so. And now, like I was saying earlier, you can definitely cut it up instead, but just know that you're going to still like feel the onion, I guess, when you're eating it. Yo, what's up, man? How's it going? Good to see you. Dude, make sure that you get the skating in while you can, just because I don't know where you're at right now location wise, but with winter coming, skating just sucks in the winter. So I'm longboarding on the bike trails when I can, just because I don't want to waste the opportunity. And just because you showed up, I'll let you know. Okay, so not too bad. I'm making apple curry right now with some scallops and chickpeas on the side. And I am grating onion right now, and it is already making my eyes water. Onion's probably my favorite vegetable, if I'm being honest, especially just caramelized. One of the first things I learned how to cook was French onion soup. I loved it a lot when I was having it for the first time. And it was because I was visiting family in France. I really wanted to have it again, but the only way I would have it is if I would go there, which was not very often. And then I would have French onion soup at like Panera or whatever, and it sucked. So I got mad at one point. I was like, fine, I'm just gonna make it myself. So picture like 14-year-old me or 13-year-old me spending like 6-7 hours on a French onion soup that tasted like slightly cooked onions in beef broth. And I just tried to get better and better at it till I liked it enough that I didn't feel the need to get an overpriced, bad tasting onion soup at a restaurant. And that's one of the takeaways that I got from that experience, was like, if you don't like restaurant food, either don't go there again, find a place that has a better version of that meal, or just learn to make it yourself. Because honestly, you might make a better version than the restaurant does, just because you'll have the time, you won't be stressed out making multiple meals, just making one for yourself, and you can make it to your specific taste. So even if you're a picky eater, especially if you're a picky eater, you might enjoy cooking for yourself. Austin, I would share the recipe with you. Only problem is that it's completely made up in my head, and I change it every time. But I will message you like an example of a good one that comes close, if that makes sense. So yeah, just send me a reminder, and I will send you that recipe. Let's go. So, no, I'm not French, but my godmother lives in France, and we visit her all the time there. I have family in the United States, Romania, and France. Okay, so now we have the grated onion. Looks kind of pureed at this point. We're gonna put it in the pot here. Do people still say sheesh? I think it's so funny to still say it, if I'm being honest. Like, ironically, unironically, I don't care at this point. It's funny. So, this is going to cook here for until it kind of like caramelizes up a little bit. It's on low heat right now, low medium. And while this is cooking away, I'm going to grate in a few other ingredients that we're going to need for this dish. Namely, the apple. First things first, I want to peel the apple. Okay, sure thing, Cassidy, no problem. I will find a recipe that comes close. Just know that if you want to make it authentic, which you don't have to, by the way. I think making things like by the book authentic is kind of overrated sometimes, unless you just want the experience of it. Anyways, it'll take a lot of time. Good French onion soup can take up to like 8 hours, depending on if you want to do a homemade broth or not. If not, you can narrow that down to like 2 hours or so. It could be a lot of fun, actually. in France, a lot of locals will consider French onion soup as, what is it? The soup to have for a broken heart. So do with that information what you will. But I just like how it tastes. I think it's great. It's really savory. It's nice. It can have a very sophisticated, deep flavor if you make sure to cook in red wine to it as well. So that's nice. Peel off a little bit more. Also, there's two different ways to prepare the French onion soup. You either can prepare it with the whole the bread on top with the nice smoky cheese, and then you broil it at the end, or you can just have it straight with no bread and cheese. But if you want the full experience, at the end you toast some bread, you put it on top of the soup, add some smoky cheese of your choice. Typically Gruyere would be the best, and then you broil it at the end with the soup in the mug. But that's, I don't know, that's a lot of work at the end, and by that point I'm already hungry. Spending an entire day making like 4 bowls of soup. And for the apples, you don't actually have to peel them if you don't want to. You just have to be very careful when you grate them that you don't get the peel in when you're pushing down. Right when you feel it's starting to give way, then you just add pressure just in the areas that have excess apple on them. You can use your palm, just make sure you don't cut yourself. And there you go, look at that. It's like nothing left. Let's check those onions really quick. Probably turned down the heat a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Now a lot of people will add in the aromatics before to infuse into the oil, but depending on how high you're cooking temperature wise, you might burn them. So for example, throwing in garlic or ginger, you might burn those accidentally. I personally like to put them in sometime after the onion, just so it can still infuse but not burn itself. And that's what I'll do after this. So the apple will go in a little bit. Yeah, the grit is great, isn't it? I still think, personally, my favorite kitchen tool besides just the knife is the food processor. Food processor saves so much time. Although I will say, if I could like have the best knife skills in the world, I would not use the food processor in that case. But I mean, it's a lot to ask for. You can just push a button, get perfectly like minced cauliflower rice, or grated garlic instantly. Yeah. Let's see if we can turn on the music a little bit. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Oh, thanks. It's political party, and they're playing beer pong. It's funny. I think it's really funny. It's also just a nice white shirt that fits, so there's that. All right. Okay, so here's the grated apple. If you can notice, there's some grated apple that's brown. That's totally fine. It doesn't mean it's bad or anything. It just means it was oxidized. And apples oxidize like really quickly after they're cut. One way to prevent it from happening is squeezing a little bit of lemon on them. But you know, for this situation where I'm not really worried about presentation, it's totally fine for them to be oxidized. The flavor doesn't change at all immediately. It's only if you need the slices to be presentable. So for this or like a pie filling, totally fine. Not a big deal at all. And I will put that in as well. Also, I don't know too much about DMCA. Does that just mean you don't get any money for the stream, or they turn the stream off? Because I'm not making anything off of the stream anyways. So not too big of a deal there. Yeah. And if you're lucky, my dog might just walk by. So if you like animals, maybe we'll see him. Hey, Max. Oh, Max, you finally get to meet Max. All right, clean up my hands a little bit. All right. Max, meet Max. Hello. Good boy. What you doing, buddy? You woke up from sleeping? That's too bad. Doggy indeed. Grated ginger, throw that in there. What you eating, buddy? What'd you find? I don't have anything for you. You can't eat any of this stuff. And hooray, we're done with the grater. Don't have to worry about that anymore. Alright, I'm gonna move you guys over here. So right in here, that's kind of the whole business we got going on. Simple mixture of onion, apple, garlic, ginger. Now at this point you can throw in whatever kind of spices you want. I'm gonna start with salt just because I want to get rid of a little bit of liquid that's inside of the apple and onion right now. Music and videos still coming in a similar fashion. Yep. Whatever Volp said is the thing. So, throw in some salt. A little bit of pepper. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna copyright me on this, but if you're curious about what the music is, it's the composer's name is Yuki Hayashi. It is from the anime Run with the Wind. Yuki Hayashi is a really famous music composer, but he does music for a lot of anime like Haikyuu, My Hero Academia, and Run with the Wind. Throw in a little bit of this garam masala. Should be good. Now we got, who was the composer who recently passed? Who was the composer who recently passed away? I actually don't know what you're referring to. Do you mean like a Japanese composer or just a famous composer in general? Because I don't know either way, unfortunately. apples are cooking away nicely. I'm gonna add right now something kind of unconventional. Thank you, thank you. Political party. Alright, I'm gonna add something a little bit unconventional right now, and that is ground cinnamon and some cane sugar. Just to add a little bit to the sweetness. Might think it's weird, but that's just how I like it. It is getting close to, the winter, autumn flavors are kind of coming in as well, so cinnamon is always good. Alright, main ingredient. I want to preface this. I did not make my own curry paste. I bought some. I'm not that cool where I can make my own curry paste. I'm not at that level yet. One day though. So, poser alert. And we're gonna use the whole can just because it's good stuff. Very, very pungent too. So pungent. Look at that stuff. Look at that. It looks just like tomato paste. I promise you, it does not taste like tomato paste. Although it has tomato paste in it. Alright, so this next step, very important. We need to cook it into the base of this creation. You want these flavors to caramelize together. Heating things up by water and by metal are two different things, flavor-wise and texture-wise. Oh, I just put in some curry paste because I'm not cool enough to make my own. But I'll show you the can in a second. Let this go down a little bit. Here is the can. Oh, wow. Dragon Quest composer, huh? Interesting. I'll have to take a look at that. Poor guy. Was he young, old? Well, if he's a composer for Dragon Quest, he's got to be pretty old. Like at least 50s, right? That's not pretty old, I shouldn't say that. Alright, so this is what our mixture looks like right now. Just kind of looks like a mush, right? The next thing, key ingredient. Now you can use any kind of milk you want. I personally find the most success with coconut milk. So we're gonna get the whole can of coconut milk, shake it up, make sure all the solids are nice and distributed, and we're gonna add that in. There we go. And then that rich red color is gonna turn into like an orangish brownish. This is the kind of consistency we want. It's essentially a sauce at this point. 90, oh yeah, that makes sense then, yeah. He lived a long life though. I think average life expectancy, at least in the US, is like 70 something. So that's pretty good. All right, so this is what it's gonna look like for now. We're just gonna let this stay on low heat for now. I wanna add a little bit of something to it to just give it more structure. And that is going to be some sauteed mushrooms, and if I have time, some fennel as well. Back to the cutting board. No, don't say that, man. You're doing great. I know that you started walking more and stuff and eating better, so you'll be fine. Plus you get all that exercise working for the church and stuff. So that's good. Oh, really quick, for those of you who don't know what fennel is, this is fennel. Now, it looks somewhat like a combination of an onion and celery together. Other countries will call this anise as well, and that's because, much like star anise, it has the flavor profile similar to that of licorice. So it has kind of like a licoricey kind of taste. And yeah, I personally find it a nice, refreshing, kind of like minty sort of onion. So I like to add it into a lot of things. Soups especially will work well. And the stems are just as good as the root itself. So that's fennel. You can find them in grocery stores. Give it a try if you're okay with licorice tasting. It's a very slight hint of licorice. Get a bowl. Whoa. You okay? Good. Alright. Throw some onions in here. Mushrooms. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you guys coming out to watch. It's not always exciting, every single second, but, it's nice, it's calming, I think, at least. And once everything starts to come together, that'll be nice. So right now I'm just washing off these mushrooms. Really important with mushrooms is that even if you get them sealed in a container, you'll find that they'll still have some fertilizer or dust on them, or dirt I should say, so it's really important to wash them off, and if you can, even brush them off. The stems cook at a different time than the heads do, so I remove them and I use them separately for something else. In a lot of cases you can use the stems for broths, or just mince them up and put them in a stir fry or something like that. The heads are also nice to stuff with cheese and herbs and then put them in the oven. And in that way, they can be like little nice hors d'oeuvres for guests or appetizers for yourself. Yeah, stuffed mushrooms are really good. So I have all these leftover scraps from what I just prepared now. This can be thrown away. It can be used as compost after you blend it a little bit, or you can freeze these in a bag and use them as a really good foundation for soup stock. And in some cases, if you're careful about which ones you pick out, like vegetable peels, for example, you can actually turn those into veggie chips. I've never done fried mushrooms before, actually. If you're just learning how to cook, by the way, mushrooms are a pretty good place to start because they're really hard to overcook. But, I mean, I don't know necessarily that a vegetable is where you should start for cooking. I think something that teaches you about how things can go wrong is important as well, so you understand why certain methods of cooking are used. Let me ask this of the chat, for those of you who are here. If you had to cook for, a date or something, right? Or your parents coming over. Let's say a dish that you want to impress with. What is something that you would make to impress your guests? For me, it would be ratatouille. Almost done chopping these, so I'll turn this on. No, I do not have that. lasagna with a salad and garlic bread. Oh yeah, lasagna's good. Garlic bread, I feel, is always going to be a crowd pleaser. It's just so good, right? Lasagna is just so good. All right, so I'm not going to throw these in the curry right away because I wanted to have a little bit of more flavor, so I'm going to saute them first before I put them in the curry. Southern thing. Yeah, I wouldn't know. I've lived in the Northeast most of my life, but I've gone to Texas and Florida, and I have to say, people from Texas, for the most part from what I saw, very, very polite, which I appreciate. But it could just be like a person-to-person thing. I don't necessarily think that a state has nicer people than another state, you know? But just from being there, everyone just had a very polite, calm, and nice way of thinking and presenting themselves. Have you guys decided where you would want to go on vacation somewhere? I know that you and Austin were talking about, you know, countries or states that you might want to go to someday. Any on your bucket list? Oh, yeah. Oh, fried chicken is so good. Chicken and waffles? Oh, that's my jam right there. Sweet, salty. It's the best. Can't go better. So, take a look here. I'm not sure if it's possible to see, but mushrooms release a lot of moisture. So, whenever you're thinking about frying them versus sauteing or steaming them, keep that in mind. They have a very high water content, which is why you add a little bit of salt typically to take it out. In my case, I want to keep it in because I'm going to throw it in a liquid anyways, regardless. And they really reduced in size too. Yeah, it's the best. It's just so good. I'm gonna get a little bit of something for that. I don't tell anybody, I told you this, but add a little bit of jack to the mushrooms. T-Dab is what's good, man. Alright, T-Dabs. For tonight's dinner, I am making apple curry with spiced chickpeas and scallops. Thanks for stopping by, man. I really appreciate it. I'll show you what we have so far. So right now we have the curry, the apple curry, which looks pretty good. I'm just gonna add some of the mushrooms to the curry to give a little bit of structure, and then I'll get started with a few other ingredients. I'll have to do the fennel next, and chickpeas, and then I'll finish with the scallops because they're very delicate and they don't take too much time, and I want them to be like nice and hot. All right, throw those in there. And there we go. Turn that off. Get the pan nice and cleaned off, for the most part. Dude, scallops are so good. You just have to make sure that you make them right, because I was telling Drowsy this earlier, but they kind of look like hockey pucks, and if you screw them up when you make them, they'll taste like them too. Oh, so adding alcohols to dishes, especially when you're searing or sauteing, is they'll deglaze the pan for you. What that means is that it'll start to loosen up any kind of overly cooked burnt parts on the bottom, and then it'll lift them up to bring them back into the dish that you can like use for flavoring. Additionally, depending on the alcohol that you use, when the actual alcohol evaporates from the dish, so there's no actual alcohol content in the dish, whatever remains from that beverage will be more concentrated and put in there. So for example, wines, which are typically made with grapes, will either have a bitter, sweet, or sour taste, right? So depending on what kind of wine you use, let's say you use a sweet wine or a sour wine, that flavor profile will be concentrated into the dish when you make it. So tool 1, it's used as a deglazer. Tool 2, it has a condensed complex flavor. Ah, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. I try to teach as much as I can, just because, you know, if I know something, why not share it, right? Plus, it's either that or just saying nonsense the entire time we're not talking. Daylon, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. You're always so nice when I post my pictures. Okay, step 2. So, Dylan, I don't know if you were here earlier, but we were talking about fennel. So fennel, in other languages, also known as anise, has a slight licorice kind of taste. As you can see, it kind of looks like a combination of celery with the stalks and onion with a bulb. And I like to think of it like a minty onion, essentially. And it's interesting because it's also called anise in other languages because it has the same flavor as star anise, which is like a licoricey kind of taste. Yep, licoricey. Also, I just want to preface, I'm not an expert at any of this whatsoever, so if I get some information wrong, please feel free to correct me. Let me know. We're all learning here. looks like when it's all chopped up. Here's the stalk and the bulb. A little bit of olive oil. I'll move this out of the way so you can see the pan better. Yeah, here's good. I will throw these in. T-Dubs, too kind, thank you. Wait for that to heat up a little bit. Save that for later. Also, quick tip. If you want people to think that you're making very exquisite, expertly crafted, just cool meals that are really hard to do, just say what the meal is called and add the 2 fanciest ingredients or extraordinary ingredients that you add to it. So for example, if I wanted to, I could say, oh no, this is not apple curry. This is actually fennel curry, just because I add a little bit of fennel to it. You could sell it at like a hipster restaurant for like $35 and just say, oh no, this is a very special curry. It's a fennel curry, and you can't make it anywhere else. So yeah, if you ever want to open up your own restaurant and be stuck up, you can do that. Or if you just want to give your own dish a cool name, that's fine too. Alright, let's try something. I'll just add a little bit of salt and pepper to that. Oh, a word about spices. 2 really cool things about spices that you might not know is that although you can find spices cheaper in powdered form, they won't last as long as you think because they're already broken down. The flavor or aroma of that spice will only last up to 6 months to a year max before it starts to dull in flavor. Now there are 2 ways to get around this. 1, you can buy the whole spice and grind it. 2, heat it up in the pan, and that'll break down more cells, open up that flavor. So a lot of people will put in their pan whole spices, toast them, and then put them in a spice blender, then put them into their dish. That really gives you a nice vibrant smell and taste to a lot of your dishes. It's very common in Indian cooking and Asian cooking, specifically Chinese. Just want this to get a little bit brown. Get this just a little bit brown. Thank you. I really like the stove too. For me, gas stove is very important. I really always want a gas stove. I don't like electrical that much. And hot tops, I think that's what it's called, are just not my thing. I really like the heat, the fire. It's very direct. I can flambe if I want to, but I'm not going to today because that can be dangerous. But yeah. A little bit more oil. There we go. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I love flipping, dude. Flipping is the best. What's that mean? What do you mean? What I said about the stovetops? Oh, flambe is where you have alcohol in the I'm not sure if this is right or not. You have a little bit of alcohol in the pan, and then you basically let the fire bleed into the pan, and it immediately starts a big fire and just burns away all the alcohol immediately. And I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to do besides being showy. I think it has something to do with like special heating technique I'm not aware of. I don't know. For more information, you have to look that up for sure. Flambe, which I'm pretty sure in French just means fire. Or flaming. Put that in there. Nice. Alright, I'm gonna have a little bit of a taste to see if it's okay. Definitely spicy. I could use a little bit of something. And that usually ends up being, in my case, a little bit of brown sugar. Yeah, they are pretty literal. A little bit of brown sugar and just a little bit more salt. And then the curry itself will be done. Don't have that on. When you're cooking, be careful. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Do not let the pan stay with high heat on with just oil, especially olive oil. There's this thing called smoke point. So depending on how high or low your smoke point is for the oil, it can burn very easily and just have like a really foul smell. Olive oil burns if you leave it unattended. So just be careful of that. That kind of comes into play when you make things like scallops, for example, where you need something on fairly high heat. You don't want the oil to burn. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna get a little bit more salt. Where did I leave the salt? I just had it here a second ago, I swear. Did I put it somewhere? Oh, put it in the other drawer. Yeah, you gotta be careful about the oil thing. Flat top, yeah. Unfortunate, I'm sorry for you. You have the inferior stove. No, I'm kidding, it's fine. It's just what I prefer. Let's try. Oh yeah, much better. Next step. I'm going to saute some chickpeas as my grain for the dish. Oh, little trick. If you don't have a strainer, just open it up slightly and then let it drain this way. Just enough so that one chickpea can't pass through, so you can just drain it. Now this can go even faster if you poke a hole on the other side as like an air canal, so it just pours out really easily. But I don't want any of the aquafaba in this dish. If you don't know what aquafaba is the slimy, watery leftover liquid in the can of chickpeas. That can be used as an egg white substitute in a lot of vegan dishes. So imagine what you can do with egg whites, right? So chocolate mousse is a really good example of something you can use for egg whites. You can substitute the egg whites for the aquafaba instead and just make chocolate mousse out of that. Additionally, you can make cookies out of it, although I personally am not a fan, but to each their own. I'm going to still get a strainer anyways because I want to wash off the sliminess from the chickpeas. Dry them. So, you might be asking, why am I drying them? Well, two reasons really. One reason is because I want to make sure that they're as clean as possible. And two, there's a difference of frying and steaming. And all that really, really depends on the amount of oil you use versus water. So, as an example, if I were to have in this pan here some oil and some vegetables, right? Let's say broccoli, right? And I just wash them with water, right? Because there's still water in the pan as it's heating, if I were to close a lid on it, the water that is left over from the wash and the water that's still in the vegetables will steam the broccoli rather than frying it or sauteing it themselves. Because I don't want to do that, I want to just fry them. I want to get rid of as much water as possible, and I'm going to substitute that with oil instead. Back on. There we go. Oh yeah. It's the worst, especially if you just forget, you know? We all forget sometimes. Alright, just gonna heat these up a little bit. Now some people will actually add the chickpeas straight into the curry themselves. I want to just have it separate for presentation purposes. I think that the curry looks better more as a sauce instead of an entire dish by itself. Add in some oil to really cover these things. And the oil is also going to work as a nice sponge for the powdered spices that I'm going to add to them. So, let's start. Alright, what am I feeling today? Let's start with some Cajun. spice time. Yeah. Cajun and let's go with some Italian herb and salt. And a little bit of garlic powder. Right. Now I want that to burn. Garlic powder straight on oil will burn. So I really want to have this moving. Now as you can see, the chickpeas are already kind of to change colors a little bit. That's not because they're ready yet. That just means that the spices were properly mixed together in the pan. All right, here you go. Yeah. All right, I'll do one more for you. There we go. Now I'm just gonna let that cook on higher heat for a little bit longer, and I'm gonna throw in a little bit of butter as well to give it a glossy look and a little bit of flavor. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would you add oil first and then butter? If you were going to use butter in the first place, why not just use butter? There's a good reason for that. Butter burns very easily in the pan. We have the oil there first to protect the butter from burning. Now, burnt butter or brown butter has different applications. First of all, brown butter gives a very nutty flavor, and the whey proteins that are in the butter that burn a little bit give a really nice look to it. But if you were to just put just butter and then cook the entire time with just butter on this high heat, it'll burn completely and turn black. That's bad. We don't want that. So the oil is used for the actual cooking, and the butter is used for the flavor. Now, if you are familiar with more Indian cuisines, you'll know of a clarified butter called ghee. Ghee is the same thing as butter, except it's clarified to the point where there is no whey protein left in the butter, which means that it won't burn as easily, and you can use it just the same as any other oil. Unfortunately, I do not have ghee, and I don't have the patience to make it myself from butter, which you can make your own ghee just from butter itself. Yeah. If you know, a lot of French cooking will use a lot of butter, but what they don't tell you is that when they're cooking their vegetables and their meats, they mix half oil with half butter to make sure the butter itself doesn't melt. A lot of people will actually do the same thing when it comes to basting steaks, right? They'll have this pool of butter and they'll just spoon it over the meat. Now, I like to think that there's a little bit of oil in that, or they just don't use the butter afterwards. They just remove it completely and just use it as base in the beginning. And making sure that you have low heat will also make sure that it doesn't burn the butter as well. But if you're cooking on high heat for a long time, you don't just use just butter by itself, unless it's very short time. All right, these guys are just about done. And that'll be our side for the dish. Okay. Put those in here. Okay. All right. Now for the exciting part. It is now time for the scallops. Or at least it would be if I remembered to defrost it early enough. I thought I could defrost it in the fridge one day and then 1 hour out of the fridge. I was wrong. But that's okay. I'll have them warmed up in no time. What are you guys up to tonight, by the way? For those of you who are just joining the stream, what are you guys relaxing with tonight? Would love to know. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've always wanted to say that. I feel like I'm on YouTube. Thanks so much, Austin. I appreciate the encouragement. All right, now, I'm not going to do all the scallops at once just because they're only really good right when you make them. So I'm going to make 6 for now. So Austin, just because you haven't seen these, this is a scallop. Like a hockey puck, right? More specifically, this is a sea scallop. Now, why do I specify sea scallop? It's because there are 2 different variants typically. There's the sea scallop and the bay scallop. Sea scallop is the one you saw. It's roughly, the diameter of a golf ball, yeah? Bay scallops are relatively the diameter of one of your finger pads. Very small. It's an important distinction to make. Okay. So, remember earlier on where I was talking about the oil and the butter? This is where that comes into play. Oil to start. Then, let that heat up for a little bit, yeah? Scallops I'm going to make simple spice, just salt, pepper, because I already have the curry. That's going to be the main flavor. make sure, keep that heat low so it doesn't burn. Remember what I said about whole spices to heat them up first? You can do the same thing with herbs. So I'm going to throw in these 2 cloves of garlic, and they're going to infuse their flavor into the oil. Don't worry, even if they burn a little bit, I'm not going to be actually eating them. This is just to infuse the garlic flavor into the oil, and that's going to go directly into the scallops. Scallops are seasoned. Next, I'm gonna add in the butter. Sea scallops are definitely more popular. Definitely. If you ask somebody what a scallop looks like, they're gonna describe a sea scallop. But bay scallops, I believe, are typically less expensive. Put that on medium heat. Great. Good. Good. Turn it up a little bit. And take a little piece to see if it's good. See if it's ready yet. Okay, it's screaming good. Thank you, yeah. It's really nice. So I just took a little piece of a scallop to make sure that the heat was good. And it's looks pretty good, pretty well done. Yep, it's definitely done. Time to put the others in. This is going to be a little bit dangerous, but you got to be careful, that's all. stay calm. Don't panic, don't panic. We're good. All right, let that go for a minute. Flip. And then 45 seconds, and then that's it. Quite. Okay. "45 seconds, and that's it." Yeah, it's really satisfying. Eat off. You know what? I'm gonna do a little bit of this at the end. Pull it off a little bit and give it a little bit of lemon. And that's it. That is it. There you have scallops ready to eat. Now for the plating. That lemon at the end, really good idea. I'm really happy with that. Okay, let me show you what it looks like. Come with me. All right, let's see how we can do this here. All right, and this is the final product. So we have the curry here, the really nicely done scallops, and the spiced chickpeas. Boring color-wise, but I can assure you that taste, it's really good. All right, guys, Well, that was the stream. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm not sure how often I can do this or if I can even make this a regular thing, but again, for everybody who stopped by, thank you so much, and have a good night. I hope you're eating something good. Bye.